Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to walk through the strategy that I use to defeat the Elegy of the Soul boss in Metaphor ReFantazio. This is for the Trial of the Dragon Essence of Power quest. So kind of disclaimer, I did this on the easy difficulty, so that's going to be the focus of this strategy. It may help with normal and hard, I don't know, I didn't attempt that, so more power to you if you want to try those difficulties. But anyways, I'll go through kind of the setup and the items and everything that I went into this fight with, and then we'll actually go through the fight and show the strategy and then defeat the boss at the end. So starting off, taking a look at my party and the characters that I used and archetypes and skills and things like that. So obviously, depending on what you've been focusing on, this may not be able to, replicate one-to-one, but I'll kind of go through the general strategy. And then also if you want to use, if you have, either you can spend time leveling up your characters to get these skills, or you can, if you have some like Hero's Leaf of Lights or Hero Fruits or things like that. I actually used some of these just to kind of get this build before I went into the fight as well. So again, just kind of giving you a general idea of the skills that I used, and then if you want to use the strategy, trying to get as close as you can to what I set up. So anyways, taking a look at this, so the four characters that I used are myself, the main character obviously, Stroll, Hulkenberg, and Yuffie. So going through these one by one, for myself, I am the Prince archetype, and for the skills that I'm using, for the sort of offensive attack, it's going to pretty much all be ice-based spells. So I have Blizzaton on my Prince as an inherited skill. You get that from the Elemental Master or Element Master. And then I'm also using, forgive me on the pronunciations on these, Dekaja, which will remove all buff effects on enemies as well, so that's going to be important too. So if you can get that skill on one of your characters at least, I put them on my main character, but it's going to be important to be able to remove buff effects. So that and Blizzaton for our offensive skill are going to be the two important things, and then obviously you have all your skills that come equipped by default with the Prince as well. Moving on to Stroll. So he right now is a Warlord archetype. He's actually just at level 1. I unlocked him right before this fight. So taking a look at his skills, this is going to be really important as well. Again, another ice skill, but the Frigid Fortress tactic skill is going to be really important to this strategy. So you get this from the Commander or the General archetype. So you can see that here. So that's the General. So you'll need to have General to get that. And then you can inherit it or put it on your character. So what that is going to do is it's going to do ice damage, but then for the next attack, it's going to make the enemy weak to ice. So we're going to kind of have this system of attacking with ice, making him weak to ice, and then the next character will do an ice attack, and you just kind of go through that pattern. So Frigid Fortress plays an important role there. And then also I just have some kind of random passives and things on there, but for him really, the Frigid Fortress tactic is the main important aspect there. Moving on to Hulkenberg. So for Hulkenberg, she is currently the Paladin. And then I have, again, a couple important spells. So she also has Frigid Fortress tactic. So if you can get at least 2 characters with Frigid Fortress tactic, that will be beneficial. And then I've got Dekunda as well, which is going to remove debuff effects on all allies. And then I just have a couple extra healing spells. So this is from the healing tree here as well. So you get these from your healer. So I just put a couple sort of safety healing spells on there. So I've got that will do a weak HP recovery for all allies, and then Patra, which will cure status ailments for one ally as well. That's just kind of for safety because I have those as well on my next character, which is Yuffie. So she is Devil Summoner. So we take a look at her skills. She comes with Summon Fairy at the top there. You can see that's also another ice attack. So she will take advantage of the Frigid Fortress weakness that gets applied. And then also you can see she has she's kind of my healer class with her inherited skill. So Penpatra is going to cure status ailments for all allies as opposed to just one. Then again, forgive me, Samar Karm is going to revive an ally and give them full HP just in case somebody dies. I've got that kind of set up. And then Medica is kind of the advanced healing spell, which is going to do medium HP recovery for all allies. So that's kind of my healer character, but then she also does some ice damage as well. And those skills, you kind of have to get your healer tree upgraded. So Savior will get you that Penpatra spell, and then you might need that for, no, you get Medica under Cleric as well as the other one as well. So those are kind of the trees and the architects that I got upgraded, as well as all the skills that I'm going to be using for this fight. Now moving on to equipment, and this is probably the most important, hands down, part of this boss fight. Maybe that's why you're watching this video too. Is he does this move where he will just nuke your entire party and insta-kill you. And the reason for that, I guess, is because if you have any items that have a repel effect, so you can see the Cobalt Split shoes here on the effect on the right side there has repel ice. So if you have any item that repels something, that is what prompts him to do that insta-kill move for whatever reason. I'm not sure if that's hinted somewhere in the game or whatnot. So anybody in your party, or well, anybody you're using during the fight, but for example, if you also like swap during the fight, if that person that you swap with has a repel item, then he'll just nuke you on his next move. So just for safety, go through your party and just take off anything that has a repel effect, and that will stop him from doing that nuke move that he does. So with that out of the way, now going through the equipment that I have on my party here. Not really anything too important. I just kind of used some stuff that was good, with a couple specific callouts that I'll go through. So for myself, you know, I've got like this regeneration bell that gives me healing every turn and things like that. But as you've gone through the dragon trial, the 3 dragons that you defeated prior to this, I would give those to your 3 other characters. So Stroll has the Flame Seal Corset, Hulkenberg has the Cardinal Dragon armor, and then Yuffie has the Cardinal Dragon robe. So all 3 of those, as you see on the effect, that nullifies fire. So there are going to be some fire attacks that he does, and it's really nice to have on all 3 of those. It'll just completely block those. And the reason why you don't want to have it on yourself is because if we take a look at the Prince archetype, you can see just by default I have resistance to all attack types and elements, so you're not going to get a real huge benefit by having those on your main character. So those 3 dragon piece armors that you got, put those on your other party members, and then again, just a couple other call outs on equipment I have. Again, nothing too crazy. I'll just kind of, I guess, scroll through these so you can see what I have equipped, but it's not really strategic by any means or anything. But that's what I have on Hulkenberg. For Stroll, though, I did give him this Crescent Medal on his accessory just because he's the one that has the least amount of MP in my party. So every turn, this will give him a little bit of MP recovery, which helps out like with an extra turn that'll get during the fight. And then also another kind of important call out, I guess, for my equipment that I'm using is on Yuffie. So she is my character that is going to cure what do you call it? The status ailments. So she is going to she's going to cure status ailments, primarily for rage. So he'll do a rage spell, and this Tranquil Trillbilly prevents rage. So if that happens, she will never get rage. So if my party does get rage, she'll be available to use that spell to cure anybody else who gets rage. So if you have like a prevent rage item, I would give that to the person that cures those status ailments. Other than that, yeah, just kind of your best equipment that you have. So that is all of the equipment, the archetypes, my party. I think that's everything. So now we'll go into the actual fight. Alright, so now taking a look at the footage of my fight, and I'm going to probably edit this a little bit just to kind of speed things up and for the sake of timing, but first thing really important to do, as you can see, is I'm moving my characters to the back row. So if you don't have your characters in the back row by default before the fight, make sure you move everybody to the back before you attack on this first round, as that's going to cut back on damage quite a bit. And then really, as mentioned in the beginning of the video, it's just going to be pretty much all ice attacks all the time in terms of the damage abilities that we do. So you can see here, Stroll just got off his Frigid Fortress, which is making me now do a weak ice attack. That only takes half a turn, and then also is doing a nice damage increase as well. And then Hulkenberg also does Frigid Fortress, which is then going to make Yuffie's ice attack weak as well. So we'll get a nice cycle of damage buffs there by getting those weak, making him weak to ice attacks. And it's really just kind of that cycle for the entire fight in terms of the attack damage that we're doing, is just kind of spamming these ice attacks. So that's kind of that aspect of it. And then in terms of the fight itself, so you can see he's going into the Seeker archetype. Each round he'll kind of cycle through different archetypes. Then he'll go like Warrior, and then Knight, and then Thief, and then eventually he gets to Prince at the end, and then he just restarts the pattern again. But he'll do fire attacks. That whenever you see fire attacks, that's good because the armor that you're wearing is going to block those. And then also you want to keep an eye on buffs and debuffs. So anytime he buffs himself, if you can, remove those off of him as quickly as you can and then just go back into ice attacks. Similarly, if they debuffs you, remove those as soon as you can and then go back into ice attacks and just kind of repeat that pattern. And then the only other thing you need to kind of worry about is healing. So kind of judgment call there on when you want to heal. Yuffie has, as I showed in the beginning of this video, has that healing ability that heals the entire party. So just kind of making judgment calls on when you want to use that and how safe you want to be with lower health situations. So again, I'll kind of fast forward through some of this, but that's really kind of the main things you need to keep an eye on. I'll make a couple other callouts here as we get through the fight, but just kind of skipping through some of this. But again, ice attacks, buffs, debuffs, and healing is kind of what we're doing. All right, a few more callouts here as he gets into the Thief archetype. So during this round, a couple things happen. First, more than likely a couple of your party members are going to get Rage, as you can see here. That's why it's good to make sure that you have that spell on hand to remove that. So get rid of that as soon as you can. And then also, unfortunately, Hulkenberg dies. So not a big deal, though. Still able to get through the fight. Just make sure that you get her revived, whether it's with a spell. Here you can see Stroll, because he's enraged, attacks, and then he blocks it, and you lose turns. So it's important you get rid of that as soon as possible. But anyways, going back to Hulkenberg, you can either revive her or whoever dies, using a spell, or make sure you have items to revive as well, and then just kind of getting back on schedule and getting back into ice attacks. Another thing to keep an eye out for is Gallica's follower ability, where you get 2 additional turn icons. So that is random, but from my experience, it should happen at some point during the fight. The odds are pretty good. It's just a matter of when it happens. Fortunately for me, it happened right when Hulkenberg died, so I used one of those additional 2 turns to revive her. So that kind of washed that out, which was nice. And then also related to that, one other skill that I haven't touched on is with the Prince archetype, using the Hero's Cry. So I also use that at some point in the fight as well. You can kind of use your judgment of when you want to use it. But that's 99 MP, and that's going to give you 4 additional turn icons as well. So I use that towards the end of the fight. But again, make sure that you use that as well. If you have the MP, you should have the MP to use it. But that'll give you a really nice round with 4 additional turns too. But again, it's a pretty simple strategy of, again, just kind of spamming ice attacks while keeping an eye on his buffs and debuffs and healing and whatnot. As you can see, I kind of am finishing up the fight here. Just enough MP to kind of get things done. But if you do run low, if you have some Magla potions to kind of just finish things up if you need them. As you can see, Stroll's completely out of MP and Hulkenberg's almost out as well. Otherwise, you do have extra characters too, so you can swap in another character if you need to as well. But kind of spamming ice attacks to finish up the fight here and wrapping things up. You can see defeat the boss. So that was kind of the strategy I used. Hopefully that all helps you kind of get in the right direction. Again, you might not be able to replicate my build exactly and whatnot, but if you can kind of do a similar strategy, it worked out pretty well for me. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.